evening. You're watching Just the News. I'm Faye. Let's get straight to our headlines. Grim news coming in from Jammu and Kashmir right on top. This is a developing story. This is as much information we have right now at about 8:30 in the evening. According to PTI, 2 policemen have died and at least 14 others have been injured in a terror attack as militants opened fire on a police bus carrying policemen at the outskirts of Srinagar city today. The injured police officers, we understand, are currently in hospital being treated and search operations are underway. Terrorists opened fire on the bus while they were traveling in the Zivan area into the Panta Chowk area of Srinagar. Earlier today, 2 terrorists were killed in an encounter with security forces in Srinagar as well. Various updates on the Omicron variant. The United Kingdom today reported its first death caused by the Omicron COVID variant. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson confirmed the news himself, saying that it is producing hospitalizations and sadly, at least 1 person is confirmed to have died of Omicron. He said, and I quote, "I think the idea that this is somewhat a milder version of the virus, I think is something we need to set to one side. Just recognize the sheer pace at which it accelerates through the population," end quote. The BBC quoted medical officers saying that hospitalizations from the Omicron variant are already happening in the UK, and these are likely to increase rapidly. The UK Prime Minister also announced that booster shots will be offered to everyone above the age of 18 in England from this week onwards and declared what he called an Omicron emergency. The WHO on Sunday said Omicron, the COVID variant, poses a very high global risk with some evidence that it evades vaccine protection, but clinical data on the severity remains limited. The WHO cited some preliminary evidence that the number of people getting reinfected with the virus has increased in South Africa. It is unclear if it is more contagious, though, than the Delta variant. In the meantime, Pfizer and BioNTech have said that 2 shots of their vaccine may still protect against severe disease, but because of its mutations, it's unlikely to evade the T-cell response. And back home in India, the ICMR, or the Indian Council for Medical Research's Assam branch, has designed a testing kit that will be able to detect a different COVID variant, specifically the Omicron COVID variant, in just 2 hours. Now, the team of scientists of the Regional Medical Research Center for the Northeast region, led by scientist Biswajyoti Borkakoti, have been credited for this. ANI has quoted the doctor saying this is important because right now it takes about 36 hours to do targeted sequencing and 4 to 5 days for the whole genome sequencing to detect a different variant. This will now happen in 2 hours. In the meantime, though, India has reported 7,350 new COVID cases and 202 deaths. These numbers are low, but remember, 38 out of these 7,350 cases are Omicron variant cases right now. The CBSE today dropped its controversial Class 10 examination question on the disobedience of wives, which was flagged as deeply misogynist. The passage, which has gone viral on social media, had sentences like, and I quote, "The emancipation of the wife has destroyed the parent's authority over children." It also said, and I quote again, "It is only by accepting her husband's way that a mother could gain obedience over the younger ones," end quote. CBSE has declared that students will be given full marks for this question. The decision to drop it also came moments after this was brought up in Parliament by Sonia Gandhi, the Congress interim president, who raised it in Parliament, calling it blatantly misogynistic and shockingly regressive. Following this, the opposition also staged a walkout in Lok Sabha. This was a comprehension passage in the English examination paper of Class 10 of the CBSE. It said, and I'm quoting some of it because it's shocking that it even went through the system and wound up in the examination. It said, women gaining independence is the main reason for a wide variety of social and family problems. Wives stop obeying their husbands, and that is the main reason children and servants are undisciplined. It also said, like I told you, the emancipation of the wife has destroyed the parent's authority over children. And it's only by accepting the husband's way that a mother can gain obedience over the younger ones. And the students were asked to then answer questions having read through this passage. The CBSE's reaction on it has been that this is not in accordance with the guidelines and has been dropped. In other news, Trinamool Congress MP Mausam Noor has filed a privilege motion against former Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi, who's also a member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, after his remarks in an interview to NDTV. Now, in the interview, when asked why he first of all accepted that Rajya Sabha seat so close to his retirement from the Supreme Court, and why he answered saying he did it because he wanted to serve the people. And the cross question then placed by the anchor, Srinivasan Jain, was why his attendance in Parliament was so low. So to which the former Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi said, and I quote, "I go to the Rajya Sabha when I feel like it, when I think there are matters of importance on which I should speak. I'm a nominated member, I'm not governed by any party whip," end quote. When Mr. Gogoi, Justice Gogoi, was asked about the joining of the Rajya Sabha 4 months after his retirement, he said, "What is the magic about the Rajya Sabha? I would have been better off in terms of pay if I had been the chairman of a tribunal." Mr. Noor's motion says the statement constitutes a breach and it undermines the dignity of the House. At least 10 other parliamentarians from different parties are expected to move similar motions. According to PTI, in Karnataka, the Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has asserted that a draft anti-conversion bill would be approved by the state cabinet and may be introduced in the winter session of the Assembly this year in Belagavi. The Chief Minister has said, and I quote, "A majority of the people want ban on religious conversions. The Law Department is reviewing it. After the review, it will be cleared in cabinet. In all probabilities, a draft rule proposed by the Law Department will be approved and subject may come up for discussion." Remember, anti-conversion bills have been introduced in states like Arunachal Pradesh, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, and Uttarakhand. Also, from the state of Karnataka, there has been regular news of attacks against churches and Christians. Just yesterday, in fact, a group of people were set upon and their Bibles were burnt in the street. In Delhi, Environment Minister Gopal Rai has said that the ban will continue on all trucks entering into Delhi except CNG and e-trucks and those engaged with essential services. The decision has been taken in view of a forecast of further deterioration of air quality. Mr. Rai has said the ban on construction and demolition activities will be reviewed after the 16th of December. Today, Delhi reported an AQI of 331, which is in the very poor category. India has successfully test-fired a long-range supersonic missile-assisted release of torpedo, it's called SMART, off the Balasore coast in Odisha. The torpedo is an underwater ranged weapon launched above or below the water surface and is self-propelled towards the target. According to ANI, the DRDO, which is the Defense Research and Development Organization, has said the system is designed to enhance anti-submarine warfare capability far beyond the conventional range. An update from Nagaland after that terrible shooting we had about a week ago. The families of the victims who were killed in Nagaland by the armed forces on the 4th of December have refused government compensation and have demanded the repeal of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act in Nagaland. AFSPA grants special powers to the Indian Armed Forces to maintain public order in specific disturbed areas. It grants the military wide powers to arrest, to shoot, to kill, to occupy, to destroy, to search property without a warrant. The central government announced compensation of 11 lakh rupees and a government job to the families of the deceased miners who were shot at. The state government announced compensation of 5 lakh rupees and 50,000 for those injured. Refusing this compensation, the Otting Village Council in their statement said, and I quote, "The Village Council of Otting and the victims of the family of the victims will not receive until and unless the culprit of the 21st para-commanders of the Indian Armed Forces are brought to justice before the Civil Code of Law and repeal the Armed Forces Special Powers Act from the entire northeastern region of India." End quote. The Prime Minister today inaugurated the first phase of the 339 crore rupee Kashi Vishwanath corridor project that connects the temple towns to iconic landmarks of the Kashi Vishwanath temple and the Ganga Ghats. The Prime Minister is in Varanasi for a 2-day visit. 23 buildings are inaugurated as part of this first phase of the project, spread over a massive area of almost 5 lakh square feet. On to news now coming in from the world of business. In an RTI reply to the newspaper, the Indian Express, the RBI has said banks have written off 2,02,781 crore rupees in bad loans in the financial year of 2020-2021. With this, banks have now written off a total of 11,68,095 crore rupees worth of bad loans or non-performing assets in the last 10 years, with most of the write-offs coming in the last 7 years. Of the total write-off in 10 years, as much as 10.72 lakh crore rupees write-offs have happened since the financial year 2014-2015. Basically, these are loans that have not been paid for more than 4 years, that are dropped off the balance sheets of banks by way of a write-off. If the bank feels that a particular loan is not going to be recovered, it can be written off before those 4 years. Now, the bank has not disclosed the names of the borrowers who have not paid off their loans, but it is safe to assume that almost all of these borrowers are large corporate houses. It's very different behavior that banks have towards large corporate houses vis-a-vis small individual borrowers who don't pay their home loans or their credit cards or their personal loans. Banks are very rough with those people. But when it's a large corporate, it's too big to fail, the treatment is completely different. The RTI went on to say, I beg your pardon, that the leading banks in this write-off process, the State Bank of India, which wrote off 89,686 crore rupees in the fiscal ended March 2021. SBI accounted for 34,402 crore rupees, followed by Union Bank, PNB, and Bank of Baroda. Remember, SBI is a bank that was created to serve the people of India. It is run with taxpayer money. It belongs to you and me. So if it is writing off large amounts of loans, it's your money that it's writing off. News coming in right now from across the world. Turkey's president on Saturday described social media as one of the main threats to democracy. According to Al Jazeera, the president's government plans to pursue legislation to criminalize the spread of fake news and disinformation online. But critics say that these proposed changes will tighten restrictions on free speech and free press. The president has said that in this regard, it is important to inform the public that the fight of disinformation and propaganda within the framework of the truth. South Korean president announced that South Korea, North Korea, China, and the US have agreed in principle to declare a formal end to the Korean War. Now, this comes almost 70 years after the conflict began. The Korean War lasted from 1950 to 1953 and split that peninsula in two. The war ended in 1953 with a formal agreement that warring parties will stop fighting, but no peace treaty, which means North and South of Korea have been technically at war this entire time. 5 million troops and civilians have lost their lives in that Korean War. This bad news coming in from the United States of America. The death toll due to the Kentucky tornadoes is expected to grow above 100 as search operations are now underway. Kentucky's governor has said that this is the most devastating tornado event in the state's history, with at least 80 confirmed deaths. President Joe Biden has declared a major federal disaster in Kentucky and ordered federal aid to be made available to the hardest hit areas. According to Reuters, Joe Biden also informed reporters that he would be asking the Environment Protection Agency to examine the role of climate change in fueling such storms. The tornado outbreak has resulted in a series of overnight storms which formed over northeast Arkansas and then have moved into Tennessee and Kentucky. The state of emergency has been declared in Kentucky. The Chinese e-commerce group Alibaba, which was founded by Jack Ma, has fired a female employee who accused her senior of sexual assault on a business trip. The employee told the government-backed newspaper that she was fired late last month. It published a copy of what she said was her termination letter. The letter said that she spread false information about the assault and about the company's handling of the case. An update now from the world of sports. 24-year-old Max Verstappen has become the first Dutchman to win a Formula One World Championship title after defeating Lewis Hamilton in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. This in 2015, in the Australian Grand Prix, Max became the youngest driver to compete in Formula One at the age of 17. Indian shuttler Kashi Vishwanath won the first round of the BWF World Championships in Spain, but Sai Praneeth has lost the opening round on Sunday. 12-seeded Srikanth defeated his Spanish counterpart in 36 minutes, while the 14-seeded Praneeth lost to his Dutch counterpart. Moving on now to positive news. One piece of positive news, which we always give you to end your day with. An Indian has won the Miss Universe crown. This is the first since Lara Datta won the crown back in the year 2000. This is 21-year-old Harnaaz Sandhu from Chandigarh, who was named the winner of the 70th edition of the beauty pageant that was held in Israel. Paraguay's contestant came in as first runner-up, and South Africa's contestant was second runner-up. So like I said, Lara Datta was the last time an Indian won the Miss Universe title, and the first time we won it was Sushmita Sen back in 1994. That brings us to the end of the news. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you found this helpful. Do give us your feedback if you find this helpful. If there's anything else you'd like us to add, here's a question for you today. Are you comfortable with the length or the duration of this bulletin? Would you like it to be shorter? Would you like it to be longer? Your feedback will be helpful in order to improve our design of our product. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.